okay. I don't have the pieces of your home, buried in the flashbacks. All these wicked nightmares have gone cold. Now we go way, way back, as far as way back goes. Still standing by your side. You know I'll be right here when all the monsters come. I've got you. I've got Now we go way, way back, as far as way back goes. Still standing by your side. You know I'll be right here when all the monsters come. I've got you.
Let's just do what you want to. Please don't be polite, cause I like your attitude. Let's forget about a curfew, cause all that is stuck in my head. It's me and you. Pulse speed and my heart is racing, but I'm not sure I wanna place it, cause it only does this with you. Our bodies meet, I can feel the tension. Move us into the next dimension. Let's just let our bodies be true. We make out for the thrill of it, mess around for the thrill of it. Don't stop now, never let this end. For the thrill of it, we can have with no regret. We make out for the thrill of it, mess around for the thrill of it. Don't stop now, never let this end. For the thrill of it, we can have with no regret. Let's live life without regrets. Girl, put your faith in me, even though we just met. Let's forget about a curfew, cause all that is stuck in my head. It's me and you. Pulse speed and my heart is racing, but I'm not sure I wanna place it, cause it only does this with you. Our bodies meet, I can feel the tension. Move us into the next dimension. Let's just let our bodies be true. We make out for the thrill of it, mess around for the thrill of it. Don't stop now, never let this end. For the thrill of it, we can have with no regret.
smile upon your face, and I see something shimmering in your eyes. And they say if you wanna glimpse the future, you need space. And you said put down your morning gun. Would you follow me to wander? Take my hand and walk beside me in a world of thunder. Fear is an imposter. When you look at me this way, I find it hard to not give in.
Welcome, everybody. It's another Dev Insight show. I'm Aggro. I'll be your host. And if you haven't seen one of these Dev Insight shows before, I think you're in for a treat. It's a little bit different than our traditional patch notes. It's not these big changes or anything like that. Instead, we're going to look at some of the changes we've made pretty recently and how successful or unsuccessful they may have been. Of course, that's not it. We've got some community news and some amazing skins, which we just kind of showed you a couple previews of there. I'm going to go into another preview here in just a second, but I will say to remind you guys that Depths of Atlantis Nox, that'll be in-game on Friday, so make sure you log in and claim that as soon as possible. All right, so let's look at some of the skins that are coming up in the next patch we're going to put in, and then we're going to start off with one that might make you a little uncomfortable, at least makes me a little uncomfortable. Itty Bitty Chibi Arachne. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about this one, chat. Blood Axe Chalk. It's gonna make me feel a little bit more comfortable. Okay, this is I'm back in my comfort zone here. Oasis Jin or Aphrodite. Apparently, there's a pretty cool VXG for this one, so stick around and make sure you check that out. Divine Beats Amaterasu. Super cool there, and of course Ragnarok Jormungandr. This part of the event that's currently going on, this one you can get really easily. Just get the 2 bundles that are associated with the event, and you will receive Ragnarok Jormungandr for free. Nice and easy, a sweet skin for you. But as I mentioned, in this Dev Insight show, a lot of what we center around is looking at some of the previous balance changes and how they impacted the game and give you guys an insight on what the devs are going to be doing in the future and what we've done in the past. So for that, no AJ this week. He's away in Europe right now. So instead, we've got Pon and Clumsy joining us. What's up, guys?
What's going on, everyone?
It's going pretty good.
You think AJ's like watching right now?
Oh yeah, he's definitely watching, like taking notes. We're gonna hear about it when he gets back.
On a beach in like Italy, right?
Yeah.
That's
right.
gonna
Sunglasses and
that's the call. Hey AJ, how's the pizza? So as I said, we usually look at these and we look at it from a perspective of, was it successful in actually changing the win rate of a lot of these characters,
Yep.
but also popularity is a big deal for these
Yeah,
as well.
popularity is a big deal. It's kind of our metric to measure how well the community perceived the buffs to be. If a character spikes up in popularity after balance change, generally people perceive it as a more impactful change. Whether or not it changes the actual win rate is a completely different metric.
All right, well we'll start with Bologna, one of those gods that actually ended up. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a section here.
Yeah, you
I don't want to
totally
skip a
I
section.
was like, wait a second.
We're not going to start with Bologna yet. Well, we will whenever we go into the actual Dev Insight things. So we're looking ahead right
Yes.
away, I guess. So what are some of the things that are on the dev team radar?
So one of the big things is Runeforged and Blackthorn Hammer. We saw these items get significantly buffed at the start of the season, and people have been kind of flexing them into builds. People are coming up with some pretty innovative builds, such as the Kurnono stacking with Runeforged Hammer, and that's an interesting thing to see. But we've let it kind of play out for a while, see how people were actually putting the builds, and it seems like these items are a bit overtuned. So we're largely looking at forward to nerfing those items in the future. Depending on what we see. Okay. We also have, just in general, huge meta nerfs across the board that we just released. We saw a lot of targeted nerfs to Merlin, to King Arthur, to Freya, to think about all the things you see banned and ranked.
Yeah,
Pretty much
these are
every
all-
single one of those got hit.
Yeah, I queued up last night and I was like, okay, well, we
Bacchus,
nerfed
yeah.
that and
Yeah,
and
Bacchus,
that,
yeah.
and that and that. What do I ban? these
Right,
days?
exactly.
Yeah. So we're watching how that actually shapes up, seeing if those characters are still perceived to be really, really strong. Largely looking at if we need to do further adjustments to those characters. If other characters pop up, such as like Shipalanke and Kurnonos, who are kind of on those borderline cusp of being like very, very top pick. If now a lot of the kind of top bans are removed, maybe they'll pop up and now be kind of the new top meta. And maybe we need to look at those adjustments in the future. But that's really what we're looking towards overall.
Okay.
Outside of that, we're looking at quality of life updates for characters. So I think we can actually talk about this.
Yeah, I
Totally.
think these are pretty much going into the next patch.
Yeah, so like Scylla, Cuckoo, and Bastet, they have abilities where it's a line ability. When it hits a target, it kind of does an AoE explosion.
Sure.
You could never see that AoE hit area, and now we're going to update the targeter so you can see that.
Right.
Oh,
So
nice.
we're also looking at not only the kind of balance state of the game, but also quality of life for characters to make you be able to understand them a bit better.
Yeah, we introduced that for Merlin's Frostbolts, and that was a copy kind of like of Hell's as well.
Yeah.
And once we had started out in a couple of those, we noticed there's a few other older gods that could probably use that same visual treatment. The community was in agreement, and I think it's simple wins there.
Yeah.
Sure, nice and easy. Clumsy, if you want to extend your mic a little bit, if you're going to be talking this way at us, I just want to make sure everyone gets everything you're saying. I see a note here that we're also going to be potentially looking at some Guardians in the near future as
Yeah,
well.
so we've been watching Guardians really closely since the start of the season. Dual lane has been a really big topic of discussion. In this patch, we added the Ghost Minion that also hits everyone to level 2. Guardians overall have been underperforming in Conquest specifically. And so we're watching to see if that's just maybe the dual lane. People are getting really pressured in the dual lane. The level 2 Ghost Minion might help that a lot. And if it doesn't, we might look at targeted targeted Guardian buffs overall. And we actually had one that we did ship, Sylvanus, that we'll talk about today,
Yes.
that was impactful, and so we might look to do more of those.
Yeah, definitely. And Sylvanus definitely had a big shift. But again, we'll go into more detail on that in a little
And
bit.
you won't see Freya this time.
No Freya.
So no Freya in this balance report, largely because we did the change.
Yes.
And then we immediately made another change.
Yeah.
Correct.
And so we'll do the balance report for Freya when that like kind of balance report happens, which will be a month from now, 2 months from now.
Should be 1 month from now.
Yes. But
I don't know.
Specifically, we're already seeing day one stats for it. It looks like the nerfs were pretty effective, but we need to see how it plays in the long term, see how people perceive the change. But that's something that we need to watch really closely and pay attention to, because Freya did undergo a lot of changes. I think a lot of people think that she feels better, but finding that balance point now is what we're looking towards.
Okay, great. So now we'll take a look at some of those gods that
Yes.
have already been adjusted. And as I kind of jump the gun with, we'll start with Bologna. This is a buff that it was not super impactful, it seemed, on the surface.
Correct.
And I think that's how the community perceived it as well.
Yeah, so overall, the perception of this was not that great, right? This was not only it was kind of a weird time for balance in the first place, where the new season had just come out. People were really experimenting. There weren't really any clear outliers. There's no SPL really going on that like really impacted like how people were viewing the meta, what picks were really popular. Ranked was getting started, so people were trying to figure out there, but there wasn't much data really yet. And so we looked to just target specifically warriors and a few guardians that were underperforming as a whole and bring them up. Perception didn't exactly match that. They felt especially some warriors felt like they were being impactful. Bologna was one of them. So when we made an adjustment to her and a few other warriors, there was already kind of a mixed feeling about those balance changes. And in some cases, it did impact win rate pretty significantly, but it really, in almost all these cases, you'll see popularity basically stayed almost the same, if not went down a little.
Okay.
Right, and as Spawn said at the beginning, it's depending on what the win rate does. The popularity of the god also determines on how successful these were perception-wise, right? So
Right.
with Bologna here, the perception was that it wasn't that great, and the match count also dictated that there was actually zero change in her ranking there. So she actually did not go up and down in her popularity, even with this buff.
So a zero change in popularity, but a pretty big change in win rate. She went from the 63rd best god in the game by win rate all the way up to 39. So it's 24 spots, and that's a pretty significant shift in win rate.
Yeah, the getting bonus protections is overall over the course of a match is generally a pretty important thing. It really does help you, and we saw it was a change that really did impact Bologna, but it's not one that's really felt by the player base. It's not one that like necessarily like sits in your mind as like, oh man, this really changed the way the character feels. And so in that regard, it wasn't a successful change to really kind of revamp and revitalize some of these potentially underperforming and underplayed warriors.
So we've done a couple of these dev insight shows, and we talk about these changes in depth. And I feel like from what AJ and you and the whole design team have been telling me is that changes like this, where the win rate moves quite a bit, but the popularity doesn't change at all, are sometimes difficult to get the public to understand. This matters because now the public still thinks, well, Bologna still needs a buff, but we've seen that she's moved a lot recently.
Yeah, and so some of that will also get over time. People will feel the impact of the change. If Bologna naturally gets stronger, people will start to realize, oh, they're showing up more in games, they're winning more often, and the popularity can sometimes match to go to match that. But in regards to like what the purpose of patch notes and purpose of balance changes are, we really want players to be excited about the characters that they normally like playing, but they feel like they can't because they perceive it as weak. And so when popularity doesn't rise up, it's generally not considered too much of a success. In our regard, this change was a small success because it did help Bologna pretty significantly. It brought her into the top half of the roster, but it didn't really change popularity.
Though, to be fair, Bologna already pretty popular. 28th overall in the game is pretty high when you've got 101 gods.
True.
So not as much room to bump up, but play more Bologna. She's doing pretty well. A lot better than she was coming into this season. All right, Tyr is next up on the list. He also got some base protection buffs, but a healing buff as well on the 2. That was I felt like that was going to be the more impactful one, but that wasn't really the case.
So Tyr's interesting. One is, in general, there's always a pretty split community perception whenever we decide to address Tyr. And some people say, no, he's fine, he doesn't need any adjustments, and other people are really liking it. So generally the community is actually pretty split on Tyr in general. But we've done some pretty intense things to him in the past, like the fact that you can stance change at level 1. That was a really big change.
Disarm on his guard stance too. Like, I thought that was going to break Tyr when we introduced that.
Yeah,
but didn't move him at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really. He tends not to move too much in popularity, and his win rate tends not to move that much. We decided to do a more targeted, focused change to his healing capability because we know the ability to self-sustain is really important for win rate, and we felt that would be impactful to him. But what we saw was similarly win rate went up, but popularity stayed about the same. Luckily, his popularity was already pretty high, and his win rate moved enough. And overall, I think people were relatively excited about this change to get Tyr into more games. So this one, while Bologna did have a higher win rate change,
Sure.
We view this one as a bit more successful because the perception of the perceived feeling that we got from Reddit on this change was a bit more positive.
Yeah, social media definitely resonated with them just a little bit more. They might have had mixed signals on what they wanted from this change, but the fact that we were able to move the dial on Tyr, who has basically been one of the the bottommost gods in the win rate since a very long time.
Yeah, he started in 93 before this
so
change.
a win rate change of 15 is actually drastic for someone like Tyr. So that's actually pretty good to see.
Have we ever considered that his passive is it's either unbreakable or like immovable, and he's like immovable on the win rate charts as well? Like,
Yeah,
maybe we
right,
need to
exactly.
Yeah, he's
make a
just
change
resistant to
there.
any change.
At any sort. CC,
Well,
balance.
Now we broke that a little bit, so that's okay.
Hey, we're on the way. We're on the way. Okay, next up, Odin. This was one that got a lot of community perception, though not in the way that we probably would have liked. It was removing that attack speed debuff when you're inside the Odin cage, and the populace was pretty passionate about this one.
Yeah, so this one was more targeted as kind of like a nerf adjustment. We see Odin do pretty well in every other game mode. So he struggles a little bit in Conquest, but not too much. He's generally a pretty good pick in Conquest.
Yeah.
So this change was really to address his overall presence in a lot of the other game modes, as well as a slight targeted towards Conquest as well. But really, the big fail on our part here was in getting all the patch ready and getting everything ready with all the changes. We just failed to have any change to any incentive to actually rank up the ultimate. And that's just on our bad. That's something we should catch. So not only was this change a bit sketchy in terms of results that you'll see when we talk about it, but also it's just kind of sloppy execution from us, which hurt the perception of this
Yeah,
change
absolutely.
quite a bit.
We were looking for some sort of Odin nerfs, and we've had many discussions on Odin in the past. He's been, as Pon was saying, he's been pretty high on both the casual game modes and Conquest. We see him picked up in the SPL. He comes in and out of flavor a lot, especially in the competitive scene, where sometimes you don't see him for a while, but he's always there and present. So when we were looking at targeted nerfs, we saw that the attack speed change on the ultimate was pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't recognize the fact, and that's on our bad.
Yeah, design team from everyone. Sorry about that, but
Yep.
we got
We're
it.
sorry.
We corrected it.
We got there in the end, and I think overall the change, the goal of the change was still valid, which was the idea that, especially in blind pick scenarios, Odin can be devastating. The difference between playing like Cupid, for example, against an Odin versus not an Odin is a big deal, because you just can't get out of that without having to invest a whole relic slot, or someone on your team investing a whole relic slot. So in competitive, you can kind of deal with it, but in blind pick, Odin can be really rough. But again, the overall change and the overall win percentage of popularity didn't really meet the goals that we wanted to here.
Yeah, for a pretty significant change to his ultimate in a way, removing an entire component, he really didn't actually move the needle. His success and his popularity, went down by -3 each, which is actually not that much.
And that can be fluctuation from patches in general.
Right,
That isn't
exactly.
necessarily targeted toward the change. So the fact that it didn't move him that much means we did hit the goal of not wanting to like completely like nerf him really hard. But it didn't really kind of like move his popularity or win rate in a way that like we expected to in the other modes specifically.
So remember, for all these numbers, these are all Conquest only. So he went from 48th best in the game in win rate to 45th. Or from 45th to 48th, excuse me, reverse that. He got 3 spots worse. And from popularity, he went from 82nd to 85th. So again, 3 spots worse. But
And when we talk about Conquest versus non-game modes, we do have the note here that he's 8th most winning in non-Conquest. So you can see the disparity there, 45th to 8th. He did move down 4 placements, which especially when you're talking about like the top characters, that's a pretty big deal. That's more of a big deal than going from 45 to 48.
Sure.
So that was a large success. We did hit him more in the modes that we wanted to target, but we were hoping for a bit more of a positive reception to this change, and that was, again, sloppy execution on our part really contributed to the negative feels.
unlucky. We'll try and keep it on the up and up, especially for this next one. Sobek. Sobek got a couple changes, really just base HP and passive protections. Sobek was a character that we saw a ton of last year, but it was almost entirely in the solo lane of the SPL level. These changes didn't really do a whole lot, though I think it would help him, in theory at least, in the support role.
Yeah, so that was the goal of the changes. We didn't want to necessarily bring him back into dominance of the solo lane. We want him to have a bit more success in the support role, and we felt the change to the HP and the protections would really help him there. But largely, why we do see a increase in win rate for him, his popularity actually went down a little bit, which means not really people didn't care too much about the change. Also, just in general, when we announced the change, there's almost no discussion about it. Most people are just kind of like, oh, that's a thing. And so while we did impact his win rate a little bit, it just didn't feel like a meaningful change. It didn't really move the needle on Sobek. And so in that regard, we would consider this like an unsuccessful change. We want people to be more hyped about playing a character like this, and it just didn't hit that goal.
Right, absolutely. It's definitely unsuccessful in the sense that we made the balance change. It wasn't talked about. It didn't really move the needle in the direction that we were looking for. There's a small change in the win rate, while a perception loss in the popularity is not what we're looking for that kind of change.
So he went from 98th overall in the game by win rate in Conquest only. Again, only all up to 91st, so +7 there. Popularity, as you guys mentioned, was 67th, slid down 2 spots. But again, patch to patch.
Yeah.
Small movements like that happen without any sort of balance changes.
It's more telling that the change didn't feel impactful. The fact that he like basically stayed where he was, people didn't really feel the weight of this change.
Yeah.
Right.
And for a buff to make you lose on popularity, if anything, is it's always surprising.
Yes. The next one, though, a little bit more successful, we would think. Sylvanus. This is one we were talking about earlier on. Probably the biggest scope of changes as well. With the Wisps, now you get they travel faster and a bigger tick on the first hit. This made big impact for Sylvanus.
Yeah, definitely. Why people didn't really talk about this one, and we saw a lot of discussions focus on other changes. This was probably the most successful one in both terms of changing win rate and popularity. It went from 92nd to
pretty low.
46th.
Which
That's a lot less
a
low.
massive change.
Yeah.
That is a huge change.
He jumped half the cast.
And even bigger for a Guardian as well.
Yeah, especially Guardians. We kind of talked about how Guardians are generally underperforming right now. Moving that far up for a Guardian is a pretty big deal in the current state of balance. And so this was super successful. It made Wisp feel way more responsive. You have the immediacy of being able to heal on demand. You don't have to there's a lot of times where you throw Wisps out and your teammate will die and you'll be like, oh man, Wisp just got there
Only
a bit
lasted
faster.
a little bit longer.
Work out a little bit, Wisp.
Yep.
Jeez.
And I think people felt that too, to see a popularity rise for Sylvanus after this change. People are feeling that, and I think we'll see more of Sylvanus as people get more and more used to it, realizing that he's a much more impactful Guardian. So we'll see kind of how he falls after this, but we would consider this one a very successful change.
Okay, so Sylvanus getting more play and winning a lot more games.
Yeah.
That's for sure. As we said, we're going to be looking at Xbalanque, Kernanos, Runeforged Hammer, Blackthorn Hammer for future updates.
Yes.
So we hope
Keeping
you'll
our eye
join
on
us
those Guardians.
for that Dev Insight. Yeah, and the Guardians as well,
And
not
looking,
just Sylvanus.
And looking at day one stats for the patch that just went out, the balance report we go over that is going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be spicy.
This batch is
yeah,
interesting
we were
for
talking
sure.
about it a little bit earlier on. You guys are going to be interested in what's going on with that. Pon and Clumsy, thank you very much for joining us for this Dev Insight. Next up, we've got some community notes, and for that, we've got Hindu and Michaela over on the other set.
Hello, hello. Yes, me and Michaela, also known as Titan Cupcake.
That's me. How's
That's
it going?
you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad
It's
to
not a
be
real
here.
show, though, because there's not a real patch, you know?
It is a real show. I told my mom to watch. Hey, Mom.
She's on the patch notes. Congratulations. So, what have we got from the community this week to talk about?
So there's a couple things. First, I just want to remind everybody that we have the Twitch bundle going on with Neath. So if you want to get that Neath skin, go ahead and claim it.
It's free.
Yeah, it's free with Twitch Prime. So as long as you got Twitch Prime, claim it. You will need to reclaim it, like you did with the previous King Arthur one.
Gotcha. To be clear for you guys at home, it's technically free, okay? Before you start tweeting at me saying it's not. But anyway, so go get that on Twitch right now.
Yep. It's available now, but it won't be available forever, so don't miss out. Go ahead and get it now.
So I heard something about this Battle for Asgard tournament.
Yes.
What is it?
So basically, we got some of the community's favorite streamers. They got to partner up with 4 people from their community. They built their own teams, and they're going to be battling it out on the new Assault map.
Cool.
Yeah, and
just come
they'll
out.
be able to get up to, there's a prize pool of like 7,000 gems, some Enigma chests thrown in there as well. But yeah, so that'll be taking place on Saturday. We've got EU teams and North American teams, and yeah, just all kinds of streamers. We've got Olympians, Kitten of Doom, Wraithen, Maddie Pocket, Catless, Smitten, Grinalda, Farah, I might have mispronounced that, Iker, and Savvy Squints going on. So
tune into your favorite streamers on Saturday.
Yeah.
Get to see them compete in a little tournament, I guess is what's going on there.
yep, and if
Cool.
you've got extra questions, we have a blog up on our page about it as well.
Awesome. And that page is smitegame.com.
Yeah, /news.
There we go, /news. There we go, didn't know that bit either. And last but not least, the last bit of community news this week is Party Up Weekend, would you believe? But what does that mean?
So anytime you're in a party, if you have one other person, so a party of 2,
So a friend.
one friend with you in a party,
Yep.
you'll get 2 times Worshiper's favor in XP.
Neat.
If you have more than one friend with you.
How's that
meaning-
possible?
Well, not for you.
Oh, okay. I'm
But
glad
some
you
of our
glad you corrected that.
We will. So if you're in a party of 3 or more, you'll get 3 times Worshiper XP in favor.
So, group up with 2 other people, get 3 times all weekend. Only have one friend That's a shame. But you'll get 2 times.
You might not get anything.
I'm used to that. Don't worry about it. I'll just be here anyway. Anything else going on? Or is that it? Are we done?
That's about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That was nice and short and quick.
We did it.
High five, Cupcake. I like her. She's quick. Let's move along. Back to Ryan for the rest of the show.
Thank you very much. It's time for the skin segment now on this week's Dev Insight Show. And for that, I've got an unbelievable cast of characters joining me. I've got Tina, Tyler, and Brock, which sounds a lot to me like Peter, Paul, and Mary. Like we're like you guys are going to be
Like
a
a
musical.
crew.
A
Tina,
musical.
Tyler, Brock.
Yeah,
for
Tina,
sure.
Tyler, and
Tina,
Brock.
Tyler, Brock.
You guys would have a pretty sick band. You should consider like making.
I dab around a trumpet a
Okay.
little bit. Get some.
All
I can
right.
play piano.
Perfect.
All right.
We got a
The-
band.
Oh, maybe electro piano, like
Ooh.
play it back.
Guitar,
Keyboard
maybe?
cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well there you have it. Check out, look pretty soon for their first music coming out. Tina, Tyler, and Brock. All right, let's get into it. We'll start with Itty Bitty Chibi Arachne, and I've got a bone to pick with whoever decided we were making this one. This creeps me out, man.
Oh my gosh, these are adorable.
You don't like her fluffy feetsies?
No, because I know that it's all a fake front. It's a facade. I don't believe this at all.
I think her purple eyes are pretty creepy, honestly.
Yes.
They should be white.
Yeah, the glassiness is really terrifying.
Okay, this is cuter.
Yes.
All right,
okay,
I'm
so
starting
the
to-
art is the scary one.
Yeah, I'm starting to warm up a little
yeah,
bit.
this is better.
Okay, all right.
She's
I'm
furry.
I'm not ready to go all in yet, but I'm liking this little web, like crocheted web she's got.
Yeah.
Right there,
Yeah,
that's
she's
cute.
got this very Wednesday Addams thing going with her
Yes.
dress and everything.
Okay.
Ooh.
But yeah, I know we have a ton of fun on these chibi skins, and there's a lot of work that goes into getting the rig to work. We have to completely redo the rig for it. We do a lot of research on some fun little emotes and stuff they can do, and everyone is different from the last, so they've been a lot of fun.
This is it's super amazing. The whole new rig and adjusted animations. Brock, you could probably speak to this. When you have to do a whole new set of animations for a skin because of the rig, what does that entail for your team?
Yeah, so that's a lot of work. It took like 3 or 4 people just to do the runs itself. Because when you put a character like Arachne, who is a lot bigger than this skin, it shrinks down and the legs don't touch the ground at all. So we had to go back and actually replant the feet for every single direction.
And that's a lot of feet she's got.
It's a lot of feet, yeah.
You know,
It's
it's-
not your simple 2-legged run. It's
There's a lot of detail that goes into the skittering. So
That's right.
oh my gosh, I love this.
Okay.
Yes,
All right. I'm on
it's
board now.
super
I love this skin. I was scared at first. I thought it was going to creep me out, but it's as cute as advertised.
Yes.
I'm all about it.
Very cool.
And
It's
her
like,
eyes change, I think.
wait,
like
do
we
they?
saw.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I think
because that's what usually
Yeah.
happens with the chibi
Yeah.
skins,
There's
right?
a lot of expression.
They get
yeah.
they get all mad.
Yeah.
There she is. Oh,
Aw,
she's
she's
cute. Okay,
So precious.
she's cute. She's cute. I see that she has a VXG. I definitely want to see that.
She sleeps.
Oh, she's so cute.
The little baby spiders.
Yeah.
That's
kinda, like,
okay.
hammocking her up.
She's so
It's great.
warm and snuggly.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was done by Ian. And originally the little spiders weren't in there, and we were in a meeting and we saw that. We're like, you know, it'd be cool if the little spiders came out.
Yeah, they just
And
Made sure she was
made
nice and
the
comfy.
bed.
Yeah.
I think the bed was effects.
Yeah.
okay.
Very
No,
That's
the
cool.
little
amazing.
spiders are making the bed.
Oh yeah.
Can we see the? I want to see the spiderlings on the Odin bot. We can see them kind of crawling around. They definitely look very different than her traditional spiderlings. But
Ooh, they're like daddy long legs.
they remind me of. Did you guys ever make those like school projects with the pipe cleaner
Oh,
like
yeah, for
spiders?
sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they remind me of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've got that
Cute.
fuzziness to
She's
them.
a crafty little chibi.
She sure is. She sure is. I like it. Let's listen to the voice pack here.
Attack! Defend! Gank! You're so cool! Woohoo! That was amazing! I'm pretty great! You're a jumpy one, but so am I! Don't run into my web now, it's really sticky. Hey, I just ate all those nasty bugs you hate. Are you gonna give me a high 5 or maybe a high 8? Why can you never trust spiders? Because they post stuff on the web.
Okay, I have to clue you guys in because now I look like a fool for being scared of this skin. But here it says, A cutie pie with a ghoulish style. She loves to entertain her guests because it's always fun to play with your food. That doesn't sound nice to me at all.
Well,
I thought she was going to turn on us and be really mean.
No, she's very cute.
She's cute all the way through. I'm sorry, I misled you, chat. I felt like I was misled.
Very cute.
Just as a reminder to you guys, this skin will be in the game the week of April 15th. Same thing for this next one, which is Blood Axe Chalk. This skin is living and fighting in the same grim urban world. Wait, hold on. He lives and fights in the same grim urban world as Darkblade Pele. Hero, villain, or both? Anytime you need someone to do a voiceover, Tina, you just let me know.
Yeah, you talk to my people.
Yeah, for
Get
sure.
your people to talk to my people.
Definitely really quality work by me there. This dude is looking like, sometimes it's these really over-the-top like themes and that kind of stuff. For Blood Axe Chalk, I feel like someone was like, yo, you know what would look cool? If he just had a real big axe that looks like it was powered by a rocket.
Yeah, this makes sense for Chalk.
It looks like
sure.
he's using his blood in his axe.
Yeah.
Like it looks like he's doing a transfusion.
Yeah, and his backpack kind of clues you into that theory a little bit too, because he's got these this tubing that kind of brings this red liquid throughout his body. It's
Wow, that is much more creative than me, who just thought it would look cool if he had a really big rocket axe. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I really like how the tech turned out on his back and his arm. There's a lot of really cool robotics that were designed and executed for this guy.
Oh, look at those lightning
the
effects
rain.
during the rain. Oh,
It's a street.
You're in the middle of the road. Watch
That's
out, man.
so
You can't be
cool.
walking there. Is there a sidewalk anywhere that he could safely walk on? It's all roads, man.
It is all road, dude.
Like the truck on the road.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
the
right.
truck. Yeah, you have to be worried about him hitting you. There are even little manhole covers. That is so cool.
Very cyberpunk.
So I remember for the Bob Ross Sylvanus skin, it had a similar sort of thing where they were like, yeah, the whole map we had to underlay this, and this really just peels away the top layer. Is that the same thing that's going on here?
Yeah, I would think so. I'm not too familiar with kind of the underworkings of that, but
sure,
it looks really cool.
It sure does. That's all I care about. He even gets it during his ultimate channeling. Dude, that ultimate channel looks amazing.
Yeah.
All the particles coming in around him.
Yeah, that kind of storm of stones, really cool.
And anytime you're adding lightning into a skin, I'm immediately involved. Like I'm about it. So you can't go wrong with red lightning strikes.
Yeah, the red lightning. That's the good stuff right there.
That is super cool. Let's take a look at let's take a listen rather to his voice pack.
Attack! Defend! Gank! Yeah! You did good, kid. Yeah, that's good. I couldn't have done it without you guys. These eyes and this axe will be the last thing you see. Hey, look at me! See this thing in my hand? We're both coming for you. How am I meant to put these guys down if they just keep respawning? Come on! That's right. I'm the judge, jury, and executioner.
You good, Tina? The timing of your laugh is what threw me off the most because the jokes were over by that point.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I just I thought it was funny.
It's over the top.
Okay, I'm about it. I can dig it. Again, that alongside the Arachne skin in game April 15th, the week of that week. Okay, Oasis Jin Aphrodite is next up on our list.
I'm so excited.
Why are you excited, Tina?
I've always wanted Genie Jin in the game, and I always tried to figure out which goddess would fit a genie the best. But when they drew this, I was like, yes, just do it, just everything.
Yeah, the way she kind of floats off the ground too works really well for this
really
theme.
well.
It's super cool.
Her hair, it's like so luscious. And then her little mask, like her sand mask, and then her details on her bodice, and then her skirt. It's all really, really cool.
Definitely very flowy and silky almost.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun when we get the chance to do some of the softer fabrics. Like, it's a good challenge for us. So
sure. That's the kiss. What is she firing off there? Is a little like metallic heart, it looks like almost.
I think so. Maybe a lamp?
Ooh, that'd be good. Oh, that a lamp.
Sand particles.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ooh, the
Yeah.
sand, dude.
But it's not just that it's all brown. It's like blue and mystical around her, and then the edges have the sand coming in. Oh
yeah,
man.
the color scheme.
Was
for
that
this
an
scene.
oasis? Like water?
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Show you my
That is really
powers.
cool.
Uh-huh.
The
Don't get used to it.
I feel like Aphrodite. And I was gonna say the same thing for Chalk. There are some gods that have these animations, and it's like, well, how much can you really do in those short amount of time? You know, it's just an axe throw, or it's just these birds coming out. But the effects team always seems to leave that little lingering effect or something like that that makes it feel that much more impactful.
Show me what you got.
Ties it all together for
So
sure.
the story behind this one is actually she's a water djinn.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why a lot of her effects are water based. Yeah. So she's from the Oasis.
The Oasis.
Yes.
Right? That's the place to be if you're going to be in the desert, I suppose.
Yes.
Let's take a look at the VXG here.
Oh yes, my favorite.
Of course. This is perfect. Like this is
Yes.
exactly what the VXG.
She even like look at her from the front. She's like sitting like yes.
Oh yeah. That'd be so
Super
uncomfortable.
fly.
My shoulders would get tired. You know.
Ew, yeah, you're right. But
it's
she has her
training.
boobs to keep her arms up.
It's core training.
Like women can just rest.
Oh. Okay.
That's something I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like when you're pregnant, you can eat from your belly.
Well, I do that anyway.
Just kind of.
You don't
it's
even
kind of a
how.
tech.
You can put a whole plate on your belly and
Lean
just like
back
eat.
far enough.
You could.
Oh my.
Things you could do. Let's take a listen to the voice pack here, really quickly, please, for Oasis Gen Aphrodite.
Defend! Gank! Woohoo! You're so brave. I'm the best. Fantastic! You have to get through me to get to my master. You cannot interfere with magic. You will never get hungry in the desert. There are so many sand witches. A man once wished that he wanted all the ladies to love him. Then I turned him into a bar of chocolate.
I think that one line about the or having someone to love them, like in the actual lore, she actually does that. Not chocolate bar, but
Oh, okay.
ends up
Yeah,
getting killed by all the people because they just want them.
Oh, they all
Yeah,
want
that's a
them
good
so badly.
tie-in.
Nice. Good little lore tie-in as well.
look at
Hey,
that.
nice knowledge there, Brock. Keep it up.
Yeah,
All
keep it
right.
up, Brock.
Next up, Divine beats Amaterasu.
Ooh, yeah, this is my
This
favorite
one is sweet.
This time around. Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing EDM skins for a little bit. There's lots of that. We've done it a couple different ways. The rave style has definitely been a big thing, but this is very
Different.
unique even among the EDM skins. It feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's super stylish, and it's an interesting challenge to like figure out what's fashion gonna look like, 100, 200 years from now. And I think this hits it.
It's looking sweet. I can tell you that much. If I can get a floating disc like that in 200 years, sign me up. I'm
She's
down.
kind of like a B-girl. Like she like break dances and dances and
Okay.
does all kind of sort of dances.
She's
so that's
dancing.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at these sound bars.
Dude,
That's
those sound
so
bars are
cool.
so sweet. I mean, that's the perfect level for the skin, and I feel like Amaterasu in general, it's sometimes like, oh, I don't know what we could really do with the stance switching and that kind of stuff, but it's clear, and it also just it fits the skin perfectly.
I know Pixel Buster Discordia, we played with some of those sound bars, and this just takes that idea to the next level and kind of integrates it in such a cool way.
Yeah, absolutely. Got the kind of reminiscent of a disco floor there a little bit, more futuristic than in the past for sure, but with that passive involved and the reflective mirror.
The club floor for sure.
Yeah, exactly. the modern age
Yeah,
disco, if you will. There's the dash and the ultimate, of course. That's cool.
This speaker mirror is really cool too because it kind of vibrates.
It
and,
does.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The speaker / mirror having its own sort of personality, I think, is really cool.
Yeah, totally.
To add on to the character of Amaterasu. And then, of course, like all the other EDM skins, this does have a VXG.
Oh no, I didn't know about this. This is awesome.
That's amazing.
So Anna worked on this one. And she spent a lot of time on it, and I think it came out pretty well.
Yeah, I'll say it's looking.
Yes. Oh, she flips it. Oh, sick.
That's so cool.
That's really good. And of course, this will combine with all the other EDM skins.
Oh, it's a turntable. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Create
that's awesome
jams with your team. You now have no excuse to not have the full EDM lineup coming at you.
That's incredible.
That's awesome. Let's take a listen to the voice pack here for Divine Beats Amaterasu.
Attack! Defend! Yank! Yeah! You're awesome, man! Hell yeah! I was born to slay. These bits got nothing on me. Let me see what you got. How many dance instructors does it take to change a light bulb? 5, 6, 7, 8! What do you call a ballet dancer who can also shoot threes on a basketball court? A ballerina.
You know, every week I say
the jokes are hitting.
I can't laugh at the jokes. Just don't laugh at the jokes this week and everything's gonna be fine. And every week one gets me. One day. Maybe if I keep doing this show long enough, I'll be able to get past it. That skin and the Aphrodite skin will be in the game the week of April 22nd, if you guys want to take notes on that. And then, of course, Ragnarok Jormungandr. This one also coming in the week of April 22nd. This as part of the Council of the Gods event. As I mentioned at the open of the show, if you get both of the bundles in the Council of the Gods event, you unlock this unlimited skin for free. And you're going to want it because my boy is
hot.
So cool.
So hot.
So hot.
He's like spitting.
On fire.
He's spitting flame.
He's on fire.
Okay, he's on fire, guys. It was like a thing, you know. He's obviously on fire, so like cool, but like not that way. But it's fine. Don't worry about it. My dude has got some like
horns, dude.
Horn tusks. Are those technically tusks? No, I guess not, because they're coming out the top of his head. They're sweet.
Yeah, I'm still getting over how cool it is to see such
Whoa!
like a big character on screen. And it gives us a lot of real estate to do some really fun things with this design. These horns, and the like, really the amount of time it takes to detail all these little veins and everything.
Oh yeah,
a lot of work goes into it. So
there's just a lot of you just got a lot of God to cover up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, veins? Where are the veins at?
So the cracks in the
along
scales.
the scales.
Yeah.
The magma kind of seeping through with his movement.
Dude.
That is
so
really
epic. Yeah.
I love that.
I don't. He's too tall. Like, I can't.
Oh, goodbye, Odins. They don't untremble in these parts. Once they're trembling to their deaths. Let's see the submerge.
Ooh, yeah. Love that UI stuff. See?
That's really cool.
I still am just not over how fun it is to like ambush people with the orb and just like pop out of the ground and be absolutely massive.
Yeah.
That is sweet.
Let's bring all this fire up out of the ground with
Oh
you.
yeah.
It's just really cool.
I'm all about
Swim.
it.
Oh, he's jumping.
Oh,
look at the fire trail, dude.
There's a fire trail behind.
Woo!
He's got flames
He's
coming
like scorching the ground while he flops
each
on
way.
it.
Man.
Epic.
This ultimate still.
I hate this so much.
It blows me away.
Yum.
It's so fun though, Tina. You get to, snake through the whole map.
Listen.
Like a dull snake.
I must be really bad at juking or something because this snake likes to like belly flop on me and 3 times and it's really annoying, especially when Clumsy plays it.
Well, that's Clumsy's fault, not yours, I would say. Well, as you may have noticed, didn't have the voice pack for that ready. Apologies for that, but it, of course, will be in the game and ready to go for Ragnarok Jormungandr. Again, the week of April 22nd. Make sure you get your Council of the God bundles so you get that skin for free. That should about do it for us here on this week's Dev Insight show. Voice pack's really good, so make sure you get those bundles. Thank you to the newest music group on the streets, Tina, Tyler, and Brock, for joining us here on the Dev Insight skin section. We should have a huge update for you coming in the next show, so make sure you stay tuned to all of our social channels and all that kind of stuff. And make sure you send in the devs your questions about this Dev Insight process. I think this is a great opportunity for players to really see behind the curtain a little bit on how the whole design process works for balance. Thanks so much for watching, and you can peach it.